And he's just kind of like, that's odd. But what it is he's just, as a mortal, he's a rich white guy. He was a jock in high school. He's a lawyer, Republican lobbyist. He realizes, wait a minute. As it turns out, they have a plan. And it's them that are actually having the plan that is what they're accusing him of. They actually have the agenda against black people. And they're using him as a scapegoat because he is that face of racist white America. This white man, he's strong.
So they're going to put him out to be the straw man.
He's the alpha. He's the alt. He's the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turns out, the few other black vampires in Chicago figure this out and go, wait a minute.
They're not buying it.
Wait a minute. Why are you so gung-ho on making us not like him when you guys really don't like us either? So it goes the opposite.
Like those folks that you came in contact with, the white liberals.
Absolutely.
So-and-so's your white buddy, but look at what he says to you behind your back.
So instead of them hating him, they sort of adopt him because the black vampires are pushed out of power. And they don't say it, but they're pushed out of power. So instead of being mad at him, they realize that at the time when the leading black vampire who was trying to do something about it, they find out he actually tried to help this guy. So then they adopt him, and it screws everything up. They're like, you can't like this guy. He was a Republican as a human. He's a rich guy. He's a capitalist. And they're like, nah, but he's cool. He's our friend. And they're like, and so there's that dynamic. And it's how basically my belief is that, and I honestly believe that these people running around canceling everyone are just minions of the most authoritarian white people in the world. That's my belief. I don't think they're just dumb. I honestly believe that the people who really want to do harm to black people, to women, to gay people, have figured out a way to, I'm not saying that they're secretly controlling them, but I do think they figured out a way to, they'll figure out a way to use these people. Like all these people bowing to the feet of white people and saying, I hate my white privilege.
Black
and all
people.
That. What?
Bowing to the feet of black people.
Bowing to the feet of black people.
Right.
Oh, I hate my white privilege. All men suck. To me, those people are playing into the hands of the most racist people. If I'm a white supremacist, I love hearing that. I'm recruiting using that every day.
I'll show that video umpteen bajillion times and look what I get.
Well, you saw that in Oregon where they told the white people that they're the only ones that need masks.
Right, exactly.
You want white supremacists? That's how you get white supremacists.
Yeah.
And that's Oregon. They got them up there.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing with all this, oh, man, the white man is bad and this and this and that? You're not helping us saying this crap.
Oregon is a funny place. I used to spend a lot of time in Oregon, Portland in particular. I had customers up there and right across the river in Vancouver. And I'm here to tell you there are almost no black people in Oregon, in Portland. There's just not many of them.
They found that out.
Yeah. And it's funny because I thought to myself, well, why are you being so racial up here about everything? And you folks are lily white.
And that's the epitome of it. They use black people, and the way I see it is self-identified white liberals or these progressive anti-racist white liberals cannot beat. To them, it's a war. It's a war between us and Donald Trump, a war between us and the jocks. So anything that's, I've seen the way they've talked to you on my Facebook. Mm-hmm. You just ask a question and challenge something, and they immediately try to turn you into the racist white man.
Well, because if you don't have an answer to a logical question, you call names, mock, and ridicule.
And that's their big-time MO.
That's the MO of extremists.
And so in order to be able to be competitive, they need black people. They cannot win white liberals have no chance of winning anywhere without black people.
Correct.
Okay? The Democratic Party in general can win in certain places if they're conservative enough. But you're not going to win in a major city without black voters. But black people are not organically, historically, that liberal. They weren't in 1965. They're not now. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do is you have to make black people, you have to associate blackness with hating Republicans more than hating Democrats. Like recently, the Covington kids. It's one thing I have a serious problem with any adult of any age talking about beating up anyone, a young person.
Correct.
I don't care what race it is. And there are people on my page who are like, yeah, that kid needs to be punched in the face. And like dozens of people were saying this. And I said, look, I don't know if it's worth $250 million, but what the Washington Post and CNN did was wrong.
It was wrong. It was wrong. They misrepresented something, first of all. And it was against a kid.
And most of the white people who commented were saying, well, what about what they do to black people? And what about the misogyny?
Who's they and what black people? I
mean, what they is American society.
Exactly. You can't do that.
And I said, okay, but it's still not cool to do that to a kid. So some black guy on my page, I posted something. He says, well, that's fine and true and all, but look what they do to black people. And I'm like, well, that sucks too, but that's not what I'm talking about now.
Right.
Here, look what they're doing, James. Guess what they're all lives matter, or is it Black Lives Matter? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but look what happened to that white guy. They're doing the exact same thing that racist white people do when you talk about black problems. I'm not talking about that now. I'm talking about don't abuse kids.
That's correct.
And so
I've seen that. In fact, somebody the other day showed me it was a young black man. If I had to guess, he looked mixed race actually, maybe mid-20s with his knee on the throat of a toddler. You've probably seen that then. Okay. See, look at this. Okay. So, well, it's a good thing we killed that George guy because look what happened here. No, stop it. Stop it. Why would you even show that? That has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, these are the white people showing it?
Yeah.
As like, oh, how bad black people are?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it has nothing to do with it. And it's not a liberal conservative thing because both extreme sides do it.
Yes.
It's almost like you can't be for something that's good without throwing mud.
And then on the other side, there was 99% of the black people who commented on it go, what's wrong with you? You're an idiot. But then there's one black professor who's a special ed teacher, black man, said, you're doing it wrong. If you really want to kill him, do it like this. And
really?
Yeah. And he looks like and sounds like those black men I was telling you about that when we were younger breathed death into our ear. They did more harm to black people than any Klansman, any cop, any Republican. They're like, anytime something happened, they're like, yeah, well, we had 400 years of oppression. I go, I know, but you can't define modern day morality and not being a piece of garbage and qualify it with slavery and racism every single time. Because what you're doing is you're eroding the development consciousness process that young people need to have. Mm-hmm. Part of being a person is knowing not to do vile things with the excuse that you were treated badly. Yes, American society was racially tyrannical towards black people.
Yep.
They failed in their statement of liberty for over hundreds of years. They did not do what they needed to do.
And I will say that even today, we're not where we need to be. And I will also say that 100 years from now, we will not be there.
No, because
you will never get there.
No, but we're human beings.
But it's just not a black and white thing.
And
I'll use myself as an example. I'll be 61 next month.
Right.
Okay. I'm very fortunate. I'm gainfully employed. I've always been gainfully employed. I've never not had a job. I'm very fortunate. If my employer decided, you know what, we don't need you anymore, and they fired me tomorrow, at 61, I'm going to have a tougher time finding a job than if I were 41.
Right.
Okay. In 10 years, I have to think, just if you look at how things have progressed, things will be better for black people in 10 years than they are today, because that's the progression. Right. Brother, in 10 years when I'm 71, it ain't going to be easier for me.
Right.
It'll be still tougher.
Right.
But you know what? That's just the way things are.
Yeah.
So that means I have to put in, if I'm 71 and lose my job and still want to work, that means I have to put in 2, 3, 4 times the applications and try extra hard.
Right.
But you can still make it. Things will never be fair because life's not fair.
Well, I think the problem that we have in this country is that when things are bad in America, they're still better than they are everywhere else.
Absolutely everywhere else. And don't give me that, well, what about England and what about Canada?
No.
And what, you know what, things aren't bad there. But you do not have free speech in England. It's against the law to say something hateful against the government.
You don't have this kind of space here.
You don't have the right. You can't do this. Like a buddy of mine in the UK one time told me, "Why do you Yanks love Bud Light? It's horrible beer, and there's never a reason to drink it." I said, "Yeah, there is a reason to drink it, but you have no idea what it is."
Right.
They said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, nothing tastes better after you've cut the grass in 90-degree weather than a Bud Light. It never gets to be 90 degrees here, and you don't have a yard to cut."
Right. Right.
So you don't get it.
When we have unique problems, because they're talking about, racism here. When's the last time you have ever seen a black president of the UK?
It's never happened.
Have you ever seen the parliament in the UK?
It's lily white. An occasional subcontinent person.
I finally saw one black person a couple years ago.
Were they black as in from Africa, or were they from India? Because
they were. I believe they were. I guess what you would call them African Indian, African English.
Okay,
I don't know, but yeah, they were African descent, but they were English, native English.
Correct.
Just one person.
Mm-hmm.
First time ever, and I've been watching that for years. You know what? Because I love it. It's fun. It's like they're like, yeah. It's like, you failed everything. Your party is no good. Oh yeah. Well, your socks suck. And every once in a while goes, calm down, shut up.
Exactly.
It's like a Monty Python. It is. I love it.
It is.
But I notice it's like there are some women there, but the Labor Party is not. Does not nearly have as many women as the Democratic Party here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? France, Germany. I mean, they have. Okay, they had women presidents, but they try to go. They're so much more advanced. They're not more advanced culturally. I mean, in terms of government,
no, or opportunity.
No,
I personally know 3 men who emigrated from the UK to this country,
right? Because
they did not have the opportunity,
right,
to ascend any higher than they were. So they came here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Three different ones.
Absolutely.
And they all succeeded, by the way.
Yeah, and so I think the problem is that what we define as an issue, which is, this person here said this and that. Oh, that's oppression. We've turned. It got to the point where I was told if you're in a disagreement with a woman, and you use the word actually, that's sexist. That's how privileged we are in America.
Because your man speaking to her?
Something like that,
yeah.
So they're limiting, but then the same people a year and a half later are calling every white woman they don't like Karen.
Yeah.
So it's fake.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this cancel thing, whatever you guys call it, this whole awakening, the awakening is fake. I'm saying it. The awakening is fake. It's fake. Now, I don't think it's wrong to pay attention to racism or sexism or homophobia. We should pay attention to it. But saying if somebody questions, like there was a photographer I saw who raised the question of whether or not a trans woman was the same as a biological woman. And these people in South City are like, he's got to be drummed out of our scene. He can't be around. Which is funny because I don't want any part of their scene anymore either. Mm-hmm. But at the time I was like, and I ain't going to lie, I'm like, man, you got to be careful what you say with these cats. And even if you're not afraid,
you absolutely
is
do.
It worth it to walk down that road?
Correct.
But these people are not less racist. They're not less transphobic. They're not less sexist. They're more sexist. They're more racist.
Well, that's the whole woke thing. I mean, in fact, I think I asked you once upon a time, what the heck does woke mean? You explained it to me. And
yeah.
Okay, I get it. You could say woke means aware. I'd like to say woke means aware, but it doesn't.
It's the opposite.
Woke means aware by our way of thinking, right?
Yeah, it means woke means our way or the highway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You need to be aware of what's going on. Oh, and by the way, it's this, and if you don't agree, you're out.
Well, I noticed that with even with the movies, where at some point, these intellectuals put out a list of these movies that were racist movies because they were white savior movies.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, and one of them was Glory. I go, well, that's stupid.